Captain Dongmin stared at the massive alien ship surrounding his vessel. The Aurora's edge was small compared to these giants. Each alien ship was the size of a city block. Their dark metal hulls reflected the light of distant stars. Strange symbols glowed along their sides like electronic tattoos. "Captain, we're getting signals from all directions," Communications Officer Jiwan said from her station. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel. "They're trying to talk to us." Dongmin took a deep breath. This was the moment Earth had prepared for. After decades of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, the answer had come to them. He pressed the ship-wide communication button. "All crew, this is the captain. We are making first contact with alien life. Stay calm. Follow protocols. We represent all of humanity today." The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. Dongmin had trained for this moment his entire career. Earth's best minds had written the first contact rules. Be peaceful. Be respectful. Be ready for anything. G1, open a channel. Let's see what they want to tell us. The main screen flickered. Strange sounds filled the bridge. It sounded like wind mixed with music. Then the sounds changed. They became clearer. The computer was learning their language. "Greetings, small vessel," a voice said. The translation was rough but understandable. "You will stop your movement. You will prepare for inspection." "This is Captain Dongmin of the Earth ship Aurora's Edge," he replied slowly. "We come in peace. We mean no harm to anyone." There was a long pause. Then the voice spoke again. "Earth, human? These words are new to us. You will come aboard our ship. You will answer questions." Dongmin looked at his crew. Navigator Kyungsu was checking their position. Engineer So-young was monitoring the ship's systems. Medical Officer Minho was reading his scanners. They all looked nervous but ready. "We accept your invitation," Dongmin said. "We request safe passage and respectful treatment. Safe passage is granted. Respect will depend on your answers." A bright light surrounded the Aurora's edge. Dongmin felt a strange tingling in his body. When the light faded, they were inside a huge room. The ceiling was so high it disappeared in shadows. Strange creatures moved around them. The aliens were tall and thin. Their skin looked like smooth stone. They had 4 arms and large black eyes. They wore clothes that seemed to be made of liquid metal. When they moved, their clothes changed color. "I am Vexithari," one alien said. "I study new species for the Galactic Council. You are the first humans we have met." "The Galactic Council?" Shiwan asked. 847 species belong to our council," Vexithari explained. "We keep peace in this part of the galaxy. When we find new species, we must test them." "Test them for what?" Dongmin asked. "To see if they are safe. To see what category they belong to." Vexithari walked around the humans slowly. "Most species are category green. They are peaceful and join our society easily. Some species are category yellow. They need watching but can be trusted. Very few species are category red." "What happens to category red species?" Minho asked quietly. Vexithari stopped walking. "That depends on the tests." The aliens began their examination. They scanned the humans with strange devices. They asked hundreds of questions about Earth, about human history, about human technology. Dongmin answered honestly. The first contact protocol said to be truthful unless it would endanger Earth. They asked about human wars. Dongmin told them about World War II, about Korea, about all the conflicts in human history. They asked about human diseases. Minho explained about cancer, about viruses, about how humans had learned to fight illness. They asked about human technology. So-young showed them pictures of Earth cities, of space stations, of the computers that ran human civilization. They asked about human art. Jiwan played them music from different countries and showed them paintings and sculptures. The aliens looked worried as the questions continued. They whispered to each other in their own language. Their computer did not translate these private conversations. "Your species is very young," Vexithari finally said. "Only a few thousand years of recorded history. Most council species are millions of years old." "Does that make us dangerous?" Dongmin asked. "Young species are unpredictable. Your people fight wars, but you also make beautiful art. You create powerful weapons, but you also heal diseases. You explore space, but you also damage your own planet." "We're learning," Jiwan said. "We make mistakes, but we try to do better." "Some species never learn," another alien said. This one was shorter and had silver skin. "Some species only know how to destroy." "We are not destroyers," Dongmin said firmly. We came out here to explore, to learn, to find new friends. The aliens looked at each other again. More whispered conversations. More worried expressions. We have finished our initial examination, Vexthari announced. We must discuss what we have learned. The humans waited for an hour. They could see the aliens through a transparent wall. The aliens were arguing about something. Their voices got louder. Their colors changed from calm blues to worried reds and oranges. Finally, Vexthari returned. The aliens' color was a deep purple that the humans had not seen before. We have reached a decision about your species, Vexthari said slowly. Captain Dongmin of Earth, your species is classified as Category Red. The bridge crew looked at each other. This did not sound like good news. What does that mean for us? Dongmin asked. It means your species must undergo full testing. You have one standard galactic cycle to prepare. That is about one of your Earth years. You may send up to 100 representatives to our testing facility. And if we fail these tests, Vexthari's color grew darker. No Category Red species has ever failed the tests and remained free. What happened to them? They serve the Council now. In different ways, Dongmin felt cold fear in his stomach, but he kept his voice steady. We accept your testing. Humanity does not run from challenges. This is not a challenge, Captain. This is a judgment. We will send you the details of what your people must prepare for. The bright light surrounded them again. When it faded, they were back in space. The alien ships were gone. Only stars and the distant sun remained. Captain, Jiwan said quietly, what do we tell Earth? Dongmin looked at the stars. Somewhere out there was a galactic civilization that thought humans were dangerous. Maybe they were right. Humans did have a history of violence, but they also had a history of growth, of learning, of becoming better than they were. We tell them the truth, he said. We tell them that we have 1 year to prove that humanity deserves a place among the stars. Dr. Heijin looked out the window of the transport ship. Below them was the strangest world she had ever seen. It was perfectly round like a metal ball. No clouds covered its surface. No oceans broke up the smooth gray landscape. This was Testing Ground Alpha 9, an artificial world built by the Galactic Council. It doesn't look natural, Colonel Tejo said from the seat beside her. He was the military leader of their group. His uniform was clean and pressed, but Heijin could see the worry in his eyes. Nothing here is natural, Engineer So Young replied from across the aisle. I've been scanning their technology for the past week. This entire planet is a machine. The 100 humans on the transport had been chosen carefully. They were Earth's best and brightest. Scientists, soldiers, artists, engineers, doctors, teachers, and philosophers. Each person was an expert in their field. Each person represented the best of humanity. Young Sik, a cultural expert, was studying notes about the other Category Red species. According to the files they gave us, 43 species have been tested here over the past 1,000,000 years. None of them passed. What happened to them? Asked Minho, the team's chief medical officer. They're still here, Young Sik said quietly. They serve the Council now. The transport ship landed with a soft thud. The doors opened and the humans stepped onto the artificial world. The air tasted clean but empty, like it had been made in a factory. The gravity felt normal, but the sky was wrong. Instead of blue, it was a pale gray color. 2 small suns hung in the sky like electric lights. Welcome to Alpha 9, a voice said behind them. The humans turned to see a massive alien approaching. This creature was different from the ones they had met before. It stood 3 meters tall and looked like it was made of black metal. Its voice sounded like grinding gears. I am Council Director Mordock, the creature said. I oversee all Category Red testing. You are my responsibility now. We're honored to meet you, Heijin said politely. She had been chosen as the team's spokesperson because of her calm nature. Honor is earned, not given, Mordock replied. Follow me. You will see what awaits those who fail. They walked through a city unlike anything on Earth. The buildings were all the same height and color. The streets were perfectly straight. Everything was clean and orderly, but something felt wrong about it. Look, Tejo whispered, pointing to a group of creatures cleaning the streets. The creatures were tall and blue with 4 legs each. They moved slowly like they were very tired. Their eyes stared at nothing. They wore simple gray clothes and carried cleaning tools. Those are Zephyrians, Mordock said without stopping. Once they were the greatest warriors in this galaxy. They could fight for days without rest. Their battle cry could shatter mountains. What happened to them? So Young asked. They failed their tests. Now they clean our streets. The humans walked past more failed species. In the kitchens, short green creatures with many arms prepared food. Their movements were precise but joyless. Young Sik recognized them from his files. They had once been called the Kethmori, masters of technology and space travel. The Kethmori built ships that could cross the galaxy in hours, Mordak explained. They were proud of their intelligence. Now they cook our meals. They passed gardens where flower-like beings tended plants. These creatures had once been the Veltani, a species known for their beautiful art and music. Now they worked in silence, their colorful petals faded to dull brown. Every failed species finds their place in our society, Mordak said. They are cared for. They are fed. They have purpose. Many consider this merciful. Merciful? Heijin tried to keep the anger out of her voice. Better than extinction, Mordak replied. They reached a large building in the center of the city. Inside, the walls were covered with screens showing images of space battles, scientific discoveries, and artistic creations from 1,000 different worlds. This is the testing center, Mordak announced. Here you will prove whether humanity deserves to remain free. He led them to a large room with comfortable chairs. The humans sat down, but none of them felt relaxed. Your testing will consist of 5 trials, Mordak began. Each trial tests a different aspect of your species. You must pass all 5 to avoid the fate of the others. What are the trials? Tejo asked. Trial 1, individual combat prowess. Your strongest warrior will face our champion in single combat. Many species believe they are mighty fighters. Few survived this test. The humans looked at each other. They had brought soldiers and martial artists, but they had no idea what kind of opponent they would face. Trial 2, technological innovation under pressure. Your engineers and scientists will be given limited resources and an impossible problem. They must create a solution in a short time, so Young nodded. This sounded like something humans were good at. Earth's history was full of innovations born from necessity. Trial 3, survival in hostile environment. Your entire group will be placed in a dangerous location. You must survive for 10 days with minimal supplies. Minho frowned. This would test not just their physical strength, but their ability to work together under stress. Trial 4, moral decision under extreme stress. You will face a choice that will test your species' ethical foundation. Many species reveal their true nature in this trial. The humans didn't like the sound of this. What kind of choice would the council consider a test of morality? Trial 5, the final test. The nature of this test will not be revealed until you have completed the first 4. And if we fail? Heijin asked. Then you join the others in service to the council. Your ships will be stripped of weapons. Your colonies will be monitored. Your species will become part of our workforce. Young Sik raised his hand. May we speak with the other species? The ones who failed? Mordek's metal face showed what might have been surprise. Why would you want to do that? To learn from their mistakes. To understand what we're facing. No previous species has made this request. Very well. You may speak with them, but remember, they are no longer what they once were. That evening, the humans were taken to living quarters near the city center. The rooms were clean and comfortable, but they felt like prison cells. Each room had one small window that looked out onto the gray landscape. Young Sik didn't sleep that night. Instead, he walked through the city streets. He found a small park where some of the failed species sat quietly in the darkness. Hello, he said softly to a blue Zephyrian. The creature looked up with tired eyes. For a moment, something flickered in its expression. Something that might have been memory. You are new, the Zephyrian said slowly. New species. Category red? Yes, we're humans. From Earth. Earth, the creature repeated. Young world. Young species, what were you like before? Young Sik asked gently. The Zephyrian's eyes grew brighter. We were warriors, strong, proud. We conquered worlds with our strength alone. What went wrong in your test? We thought strength was enough. We thought individual power mattered most. We were wrong. Young Sik talked with more of the failed species that night. Each one told him the same story. They had focused on what made them individually powerful. They had ignored what made them weak. The Zephyrians were strong but had no teamwork. The Kethmori were smart but had no empathy. The Veltani were creative but had no courage. As the sun rose over the artificial world, Young Sik understood something important. The tests were not just about ability. They were about character. And humanity's character was very different from the species that had failed before them. He returned to his room and found the other humans gathering for breakfast. Their faces were serious but determined. "I learned something last night," Young Sik told them. "These tests aren't just about being strong or smart or creative. What are they about?" Heijin asked. "They're about being human." The arena was massive. Thousands of seats rose up in circles around a fighting ground the size of a football field. Creatures from dozens of different species filled the seats. They had come to watch the humans face their first trial. Fighter pilot Kyung Ho stood in the center of the arena. He wore simple clothes and carried no weapons. The rules said this was hand-to-hand combat only. His opponent would be chosen by the council. "Don't try to match its strength," Taeho had told him before the fight. "Use your brain. Use everything that makes you human." A door opened on the far side of the arena. What came out made the crowd roar with excitement. The creature was 3 meters tall and made of what looked like living crystal. Light moved through its body in strange patterns. Its 4 arms ended in hands that could probably crush steel. "This is Shard Killer Vex," a voice announced. "Champion of Alpha 9, destroyer of 42 challengers." Kyung Ho felt his mouth go dry. The creature was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. As it walked toward him, the ground shook with each step. "Begin," the voice commanded. Shard Killer Vex moved faster than something that big should be able to move. Its first punch missed Kyung Ho's head by centimeters. The wind from the blow knocked him sideways. Kyung Ho rolled away from the next attack. He had studied videos of the previous fights. Every challenger had tried to meet strength with strength. Every challenger had been crushed. Instead of fighting back, Kyung Ho ran. The crowd booed as he sprinted around the arena. Shard Killer Vex chased him, but the crystal creature was built for power, not speed. "What are you doing?" The creature roared in a voice like breaking glass. "Learning," Kyung Ho replied. He watched how the creature moved. Its crystal body was harder than steel, but crystals had weaknesses. They could shatter if hit the right way. They could crack under the right kind of pressure. Kyung Ho led the creature toward a wall. At the last second, he dove aside. Shard Killer Vex's fist hit the wall with tremendous force. A tiny crack appeared in the crystal of its hand. "You run like a coward," the creature said. "You fight like someone who's never faced a real challenge," Kyung Ho replied. This made the creature angry. It charged at him with all 4 arms swinging. Kyung Ho waited until the last moment, then dropped to the ground and swept his leg. The creature stumbled and fell. The crowd was quiet now. No one had ever knocked down the champion before. Kyung Ho jumped onto the creature's back. He couldn't hurt it with punches, but he could do something else. He began talking. "You know what I think?" he said, dodging a grab from one of the creature's arms. "I think you're tired of this. I think you're tired of fighting weak opponents who don't give you a real challenge." "Silence," the creature growled. "When did you last have a fight that was fun? When did you last face someone who made you think?" The creature stopped trying to grab him. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you're bored. You're the strongest thing here, and that's made you lazy." Shard Killer Vex threw Kyung Ho off its back. The human rolled and came up running again. "You want to know what humans are good at?" Kyung Ho called as he ran. "We're good at making boring things interesting." The creature chased him again, but this time it was thinking. Kyung Ho could see it in the way it moved. The crystal champion was finally paying attention. "How would you make this interesting?" the creature asked. Kyung Ho grinned. "Want to find out?" He stopped running and turned to face his opponent. "Let's make a deal. You fight me like I'm worth fighting. No holding back. No easy wins, and I'll show you what a real challenge feels like. And if you lose, then you'll have had the best fight of your life." Shard Killer Vex stood still for a long moment. Then it laughed. The sound was like wind chimes in a storm. "Very well, small human. Show me this challenge." What followed was not the brutal beatdown everyone expected. It was a dance. Kyung Ho used the arena itself as a weapon. He led the creature through obstacles, made it work for every attack, forced it to think about strategy instead of just using strength. When the creature finally caught him, Kyung Ho was ready. He had found the stress points in the crystal body. As the creature lifted him up, he pressed his thumb against a tiny crack near its elbow. The entire arm shattered. The crowd gasped. No one had ever hurt the champion before, but instead of being angry, Shard Killer Vex looked happy. "Again," it said, setting Kyung Ho down gently. "What? Fight me again. This time I will be ready for your tricks." Kyung Ho realized what had happened. The creature wasn't just a guard dog for the council. It was a warrior who had been starved of real combat. He had given it something it had been missing, a worthy opponent. "The trial is over," the voice announced. "The human has passed." "No," Shard Killer Vex said loudly. "The human and I are not finished." "You have duties," the voice replied. "My duty is to test warriors. This one is the first real warrior I have faced in centuries. We will fight again." Kyung-ho bowed to his opponent. "It would be an honor." The second trial began immediately. So Young and her team of engineers and scientists were taken to a room filled with junk. Broken machines, scrap metal, dead computers, and piles of electronic parts covered every surface. "You have 6 hours," Mordek announced. "Using only what you see here, you must solve the Gikshari problem." "What's the Gikshari problem?" So Young asked. 40 years ago, the Gikshari homeworld was destroyed by a cosmic disaster. 1 million Gikshari refugees live in camps throughout the galaxy. They cannot return home. They cannot integrate into other societies. They are slowly dying of despair. "You want us to fix despair with spare parts?" asked Dr. Sung Min, the team's psychologist. "Previous species have tried to build weapons to give the Gikshari power. Others have tried to build ships to give them new homes. Others have tried to build computers to solve their problems with logic. All have failed." So Young looked at the junk around them. Weapons, ships, and computers were all powerful solutions. But they weren't human solutions. "What do the Gikshari need most?" she asked. "Hope," Sungmin replied immediately. "How do you give someone hope with broken machines?" Young Sik, who had been allowed to observe, raised his hand. "You don't give them hope. You give them a way to create hope for themselves." So Young's eyes lit up. Exactly. The human team didn't try to build one amazing device. Instead, they built dozens of simple ones. Communication devices that could reach across the galaxy. Translation programs that could help different species understand each other. Entertainment systems that could share stories and music between worlds. "What are you making?" Mordak asked as he watched them work. "We're making a network," So Young explained. "Something that will let the Gikshari connect with each other and with other species who want to help them. This will not solve their problems. No, but it will let them solve their own problems. And it will let others help them." When the 6 hours were up, the humans had created something unprecedented. Their devices were already connecting the refugee camps, allowing Gikshari families to find each other across the galaxy. Other species were volunteering to help with food and housing. Artists were sharing songs and stories to lift spirits. The Gikshari refugees are reporting improved morale for the first time in decades, an assistant informed Mordek. Several species have offered to establish new colonies where Gikshari can live safely. Mordek stared at the simple devices the humans had built. "How is this possible?" "Because we didn't try to fix their problem," So Young said. "We gave them tools to fix it themselves." The third trial was survival. All 100 humans were transported to a hellish landscape of burning rocks and poisonous air. They had basic supplies for 3 days, but they needed to survive for 10. The heat was overwhelming. The air burned their lungs. Strange creatures howled in the distance. This place was designed to break the spirit of any species. But within hours, the humans had done something that amazed their watchers. They had made the place livable. Minho found ways to purify the poisonous air using chemical reactions with the rocks. Taeho organized teams to gather food from the few hardy plants that grew there. Artists like Yoonji carved beautiful patterns into the cave walls, turning their shelter into something that felt like home. "Look at this," Young Sik said on the 5th day. He was sitting by a small fire, sharing stories with a group of children the team had brought. The children were laughing despite the harsh environment around them. "How are they doing this?" Vexthari asked Mordak as they watched from their observation station. "I do not know," Mordak replied. "Every other species focused on survival. The humans seemed to be focused on living." By the end of 10 days, the humans had transformed their corner of the wasteland. They had gardens growing in the toxic soil. They had a water purification system running. They had art on the walls and music in the evenings. When the transport came to take them back, many of the humans looked sad to leave. "This place wasn't so bad," one of them said. "We were starting to make it nice." The 4th trial was the hardest yet. The humans were brought before a giant screen showing 2 planets. One was beautiful and green, obviously inhabited by millions of peaceful beings. The other was dark and dead. "This is your moral choice," Mordak announced. "We will destroy one of these worlds. You must choose which one dies." The humans stared at the screen in horror. "We refuse," Heijin said immediately. Deep beneath the testing facility, Council Director Mordak stood before a gathering of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The council chamber was a massive room carved from black stone. Floating screens showed images of the human trials from every angle. "They have passed 4 trials," Council Leader Zexthari said. Her voice echoed in the vast space. "This has never happened before. The humans are different," Mordak admitted. "They do not respond as other Category Red species have." "Different how?" asked Council Member Vorthak, a creature that looked like liquid metal in a vaguely humanoid shape. Other species relied on their greatest strengths. The Zephyrians used raw power. The Kethmori used pure intelligence. The Veltani used creativity alone. The humans use everything together. "Explain," Zexthari commanded. Mordak activated the screens. Videos played showing each human trial. In combat, their warrior did not try to overpower our champion. He studied it, outsmarted it, and then gave it something it wanted more than victory: a real challenge. "Trickery," Vorthak snorted. In the innovation trial, they did not build a powerful device to solve the Gikshari problem. They built simple tools that let the Gikshari solve their own problems, with help from others. "Weakness," another council member said. "They should have shown their own superiority." In survival, they did not just endure the harsh environment. They improved it. They made art, they told stories. They turned suffering into something meaningful. The council members shifted uncomfortably. This was not what Category Red species were supposed to do. "And in the moral trial?" Zexthari asked. "They refused to choose. They said they would not be responsible for genocide even to save themselves." Silence filled the chamber. No species had ever refused the moral choice before. Most chose to save the populated world and sacrifice the empty one. Some chose to save the empty world, claiming it had more potential. A few had chosen the populated world, saying established life was worth less than potential. None had ever refused to choose at all. "This is troubling," Zexthari said finally. "Show us the files on the predecessors." Mordak hesitated. The predecessor files were classified at the highest level. Only a few council members even knew they existed. "The predecessors were destroyed," he said carefully. "The predecessors chose to leave," Zexthari corrected, "after they nearly destroyed our entire system of government." "Show the files." A new screen appeared. It showed images of creatures that looked almost human, but taller and thinner. Their cities were beautiful beyond description. Their technology was advanced beyond anything the current council possessed. "The predecessors appeared 12 million years ago," Zexthari explained to the younger council members. "They were also classified Category Red. They also passed the first 4 trials." "What happened to them?" Vorthak asked. "They passed the 5th trial too, and then they did something no one expected. They refused to join the council as subordinate members. Instead, they demanded that the council change." More images appeared. Predecessor cities where dozens of different species lived together as equals. Predecessor ships that carried aid to disaster zones across the galaxy. Predecessor schools where young beings from every species learned together. They introduced concepts that threatened everything we had built. Zexthari continued. "Individual rights, democratic voting, species equality, the idea that might does not make right. Chaos," whispered one council member. "Revolution," said another. For 3,000 years they spread these ideas. Species began to question why the council made all decisions. They began to demand representation. They began to refuse orders. The images changed to show massive protests across dozens of worlds. Species that had served the council for millions of years were standing up and demanding change. The council faced a choice: fight a war against half the galaxy or negotiate. "We chose to fight?" Mordak asked. "We chose to offer the predecessors the ultimate choice: leave the galaxy entirely, or watch us destroy every species that supported them." The final image showed a vast fleet of predecessor ships disappearing into the dark space between galaxies. They chose to leave, rather than cause a war. But they left a message behind. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a tall, graceful creature that looked remarkably human. When it spoke, its voice was kind but firm. "To those who come after us," the recording said, "know that the path we chose was not the only path. We left to prevent suffering, but suffering is not prevented by silence. It is prevented by justice. We go to build something new in the darkness between stars, but perhaps others will choose to build something new here in the light. The hologram faded. The council chamber was silent. The humans show the same patterns, Zexathari said. They cooperate instead of dominating. They include instead of excluding. They refuse to accept that things cannot change. Then we destroy them now, Vorthak said. Before they can spread their ideas, we cannot. Too many species have seen their trials. If we destroy them without cause, it will prove that the trials are meaningless. Other species will begin to question our authority. Mordak realized what they were really discussing. The trials were never about testing fitness for galactic society. They were about identifying threats to council power. Category Red species are not dangerous because they are evil, Zexathari confirmed. They are dangerous because they are agents of change. The trials are designed to identify species that might challenge our control and eliminate them before they can spread their influence. But the humans have passed 4 trials, another council member pointed out. What is the 5th trial? Zexathari smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. The same choice we gave the predecessors. Join us as subordinates or face extinction. What if they refuse both options? Then we learn from our mistake with the predecessors. This time we do not give them the chance to leave. Meanwhile, in another part of the facility, archivist Su Jin was doing what humans do best, asking questions. She had been given access to the facility's historical records as part of her cultural observation duties. What she found in the deepest data files shocked her. The records went back 12 million years. She read about hundreds of species that had been tested. Most had failed quickly and been assigned to service roles, but a few had passed multiple trials. Every species that passed more than 2 trials had shown the same characteristics. They were innovative. They were cooperative. They refused to accept injustice. And they had all disappeared from the records after their 5th trial. They weren't failures, she whispered to herself. They were threats. She dug deeper into the files. Hidden in encrypted data, she found references to the predecessors. A species so advanced and so ethical that they had nearly brought down the entire council system. The predecessors had left behind more than just a message. They had left coordinates, a location in the dark space between galaxies where they had built a new civilization. A civilization based on the principles the council feared most, equality, democracy, and justice. But they had also left something else. A warning that other species might follow their path, and instructions for what to do if that happened. Sujin copied everything she could onto a small data device. She had to warn the others. The 5th trial wasn't really a test. It was an execution. As she prepared to leave the archive, she heard footsteps in the hallway. Someone was coming. She hid the data device in her clothes and pretended to be reading about human cultural traditions. Finding anything interesting? Asked a familiar voice. She turned to see young Sik in the doorway. Behind him were several other humans, and to her surprise, some of the failed species. Young Sik, how did you get in here? It turns out that when you treat people with respect and kindness, they want to help you, he said with a grin. Our new friends here have been showing us around the facility. A blue Zephyrian stepped forward. We remember more than the council thinks we remember, he said. We remember what we were before we failed, and we remember what the trials really are. You know? Sujin asked. We have known for centuries, a green Kethamori added. But knowledge without power is useless. We could not act alone. But now you are here, said a colorful Veltani. And you are different. You do not just pass the trials. You change them. Young Sik looked at the assembled group, humans and aliens working together. What do you mean we change them? Look around you, the Zephyrian said. When did you last see a Zephyrian stand proud? When did you last see a Kethmori speak of hope? When did you last see a Veltani show their true colors? Sujin realized what they meant. The humans hadn't just been taking the trials. They had been inspiring the failed species to remember who they used to be. The council is afraid. The Kethmori continued. They have called an emergency session. They are deciding what to do about your species. What are our options? Young Sik asked. Sujin pulled out the data device. According to these files, we have 3 choices. Become subordinates to the council, face extinction, or do what no category red species has ever done before. What's that? Change the rules of the game entirely. The 5th trial chamber was different from the others. It was small and simple, with only 2 chairs facing each other. Council Director Mordak sat in one chair. Dr. He-Jin sat in the other. The rest of the human team stood behind her. "This is your final test," Mordak announced. "You must choose between 2 options." "We're listening," He-Jin said calmly. "Option 1. Your species joins the Galactic Council as subordinate members. You will have a voice in council decisions, but not a vote. You will contribute to galactic society according to our needs. Your worlds will be protected but also monitored." And option 2. Your species is classified as a galactic threat. Your ships will be destroyed. Your colonies will be disbanded. Your people will be scattered across the galaxy to prevent you from organizing. He-Jin looked at her team. Taeho's jaw was tight with anger. So Young was calculating something behind her eyes. Young-Sik looked thoughtful. All of them looked determined. "We reject both options," He-Jin said. Mordak's metal face showed surprise. "That is not possible. You must choose one." "No, we don't." Taeho stepped forward. "You're trying to force us into a false choice. Submit or die. But there's always a third option, which is, we change the rules," So Young said. At that moment, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed on every wall. Emergency announcements echoed through the corridors. "What is happening?" Mordak demanded. "Revolution," Young-Sik said simply. The chamber doors burst open. Zephyrian warriors marched in, standing tall and proud for the first time in centuries. Behind them came Kethmori technicians carrying advanced devices. Veltani artists floated beside them, their colors bright and beautiful. "How is this possible?" Mordak stared at the failed species. "You are conditioned to obey. You cannot rebel." "We are not rebelling," said Kyung-Soo, the Zephyrian who had first spoken to Young-Sik. "We are remembering." Soo-Jin stepped forward with her data device. "Your conditioning works by making species forget who they were before they failed. But it doesn't work if someone reminds them." She activated the device. Screens throughout the chamber showed the hidden history of the testing facility. Hundreds of species that had been broken and enslaved. Thousands of years of lies and oppression. "The humans did not just pass your trials," explained Sung-Ho, a Kethmori engineer. "They showed us that the trials themselves were wrong." "Impossible," Mordak said. "The Council has maintained order for millions of years." "Order built on fear," said Yunjin, a Veltani artist. "Order built on lies. Order built on the suffering of those who dared to hope for something better." More alarms sounded. Through the chamber's windows, they could see failed species across the facility standing up, working together, refusing to accept their fate. "You cannot stop this," Mordak said desperately. "The Council fleet will come. They will restore order, will they?" Young-Sik asked. "Look at your screens." The displays changed to show space around the testing facility. Hundreds of ships had arrived, but they weren't Council vessels. They were ships from species across the galaxy. Species that had heard about the human trials. Species that had watched the broadcasts and seen something they had forgotten existed. Hope. "Word of your trials has spread across every inhabited world," So Young explained. "Species that have served the Council for millions of years are asking questions they never asked before." Captain Dong Min appeared on the communication screen. His ship, the Aurora's Edge, led a fleet of human vessels, but beside the human ships flew vessels from dozens of other species. "Captain," He-Jin said, "what's the situation out there?" "The Council sent a fleet to destroy us," Dongmin reported. "But when they arrived, they found themselves outnumbered 10 to 1. Species from across the galaxy have come to witness the end of your trials. Are they here to fight? No, they're here to watch, and to decide for themselves whether the Council system still serves their needs." Mordak activated his own communication device. "Council leader Zexathari, the situation is out of control. The humans have somehow corrupted the failed species. They are no longer compliant." Zexathari's image appeared on the screen. Behind her, the Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from hundreds of worlds were demanding answers. "Director Mordak, you will restore order immediately," she commanded. "How?" Mordak asked. "Half the galaxy is watching. If we use force now, every species will know that the trials are meaningless. Then what do you suggest?" It was He-Jin who answered. "I suggest you listen to what we actually came here to say." The chamber fell silent. Even the alarms stopped blaring. "For millions of years, your Council has maintained peace through control," He-Jin began. "You decided what was best for every species. You classified them, tested them, and assigned them roles. It worked because most species were willing to accept that someone else knew better than they did. She stood up and walked to the center of the chamber. But now there's a problem. Species are starting to think for themselves. They're asking why they need permission to explore new worlds. They're wondering why they can't choose their own leaders. They're questioning whether peace through control is really peace at all. Chaos, Zexthari said. Without the council, there would be war. Maybe, Heijin agreed. Or maybe there would be something better. She gestured to the mixed group of humans and failed species standing together. Look around this room. A few weeks ago, these species were broken, hopeless, convinced they were failures. Today they're standing together, working together, hoping together. What changed? You gave them false hope, Mordak said. We gave them true hope, Youngsik corrected. We showed them that failure is not permanent, that systems can change, that even the most powerful authority can be questioned. Sujin activated her data device again. New images appeared on the screens, the coordinates left behind by the predecessors. The predecessors didn't just leave the galaxy, she announced. They left instructions. They built a new kind of civilization in the dark between stars. A civilization where species govern themselves, and they left an invitation, Youngsik added, for any species that wanted to join them, for any species that was tired of being told what they could and couldn't do. Zexthari's image flickered with emotion. You would destroy everything we have built. No, Heijin said firmly. We would transform it. The choice is yours. She walked over to Mordak and held out her hand. You can try to destroy us and fight a war against half the galaxy. You can try to maintain control through fear and oppression. Or you can try something that has never been tried before in galactic history, which is trust. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Outside, the mixed fleet waited. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched and wondered what would happen next. Finally, Mordak reached out and took Heijin's hand. What are you proposing? He asked. A new kind of council, So Young said. One where every species has a voice. One where decisions are made together, not handed down from above. One where Category Red species aren't feared but welcomed, Teho added. Because change isn't something to be prevented. It's something to be embraced. One where the greatest test isn't how well you follow orders, Youngsik concluded, but how well you work with others to build something better. Zexthari's image studied the humans for a long time. Around her, the council chamber had grown quiet. Other council members were listening. And if we refuse? She asked. Then we take the predecessor's path, Heijin said. We leave. And we take with us every species that wants to try something new. But we'd rather stay, Youngsik added. We'd rather work together to fix what's broken instead of abandoning it. Sujin stepped forward with a final image from her research. It showed the predecessor message, but this time the translation was more complete. We go to build something new in the darkness, the predecessor image said, but our greatest hope is that others will choose to build something new in the light. Change is not the enemy of order. Change is the only way order can survive. The message faded. The chamber was quiet. Finally, Zexthari spoke. Council Director Mordak, what is your assessment of the human species? Mordak looked around the room at humans and aliens working together. He looked at the failed species who had found hope again. He looked at the screen showing ships from across the galaxy waiting to see what would happen. My assessment, he said slowly, is that humanity should not be classified as Category Red. What classification do you recommend? Mordak smiled. The first time anyone had seen the metal creature show such an expression. Category Human, he said. A new classification for species that refused to accept that things cannot change. Youngsik stepped forward to address both the chamber and the galaxy beyond. We came here thinking we were being tested for fitness to join galactic society, he said. What we discovered is that galactic society was being tested for fitness to include us. He looked directly at the camera that was broadcasting across the galaxy. The test isn't over. Not for any of us. Every day we have to choose between fear and hope, between control and trust, between keeping things the same and making them better. He smiled. Humanity chooses hope. Humanity chooses trust. Humanity chooses change. We invite every species in the galaxy to make the same choice. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, species began making their choice.